You ever think you're finally out? Like the universe can't possibly have another surprise left for you. And then, bam, it just smacks you in the face with the most ridiculous nonsense? That's pretty much what happened the first year I retired from military intelligence. Picture this. After 22 years of secrets, stress, and moving around like a chess piece nobody ever asked to play, all I wanted was a stretch of land, some damn quiet, and zero explanations to anybody. So I did it. Bought myself a house tucked way out at the edge of this small, fancy gated community. But here's the kicker. I wasn't part of the HOA. My driveway shared their private road, but my property line was just outside their grip. Freedom, right? Or so I thought. Now, I wasn't trying to make a statement. Kept to myself. Did my yard work. Drank my morning coffee on the porch, birds chirping, all that good stuff. The only thing that stood out was the security setup. Not Fort Knox or anything, just thorough. Old habits. Couple cameras, reinforced doors, motion sensors. A silent nod to a life spent knowing that sometimes trouble shows up in broad daylight, wearing a smile. There was one little leftover. A backup security protocol still quietly linked to a dormant military channel. Not active surveillance. Nothing illegal. Just a failsafe that would ping some very serious people if the wrong wires were tripped. Mostly for peace of mind. Like a superstition, almost. Then comes Karen. I swear, if you've never met a Karen in real life, count yourself lucky. Bleach blonde bob, sunglasses so big they should have their own zip code, strutting up with a clipboard like she's the sheriff of the Wild West. She's the newly minted HOA president, and that clipboard is her badge. I'm out trimming my hedges when she shows up, all business, announcing, "You're out of compliance." I nearly snorted coffee out my nose. For what? I ask, genuinely curious how someone could have a problem with a mailbox or a flower bed. Your gate, she says, is 2 feet taller than our aesthetic allows. You ever seen someone look personally offended by inanimate objects? That was her face.so. I tell her, politely, I'm not in the HOA. She doesn't miss a beat. If you use our roads, you follow our rules. I try not to laugh. That's not how property law works, I say, and head inside, figuring that's the end of it. Spoiler, it wasn't. Fast forward a week. I'm out of state visiting my sister. My phone lights up, motion detected at the front gate. Seconds later, a second alert, rear fence breach. Now, here's the thing. Most folks would call the cops. But my old backup system, dusty and half-forgotten, suddenly lights up my phone like Vegas. Pentagon alert. Not the sheriff. Not 911. A direct line to a federal threat unit that does not mess around with neighborhood disputes. I can almost hear my old supervisor's voice. Redundancy saves lives, but sometimes it just ruins weekends. You know what I mean? I tap into my security cameras, and, no kidding, there she is. Karen herself, standing inside my property, waving a tape measure, muttering and scowling like she's auditioning for a reality show nobody asked for. And then, like some kind of fever dream, 2 black SUVs pull up. No sirens, no fuss, just doors opening, and out step a handful of serious-looking men in plain clothes. Federal agents. The kind who carry badges you've never seen before. The kind who don't do small talk. Karen, of course, sees authority and thinks she's found backup. She starts waving her clipboard like she's summoning the HOA cavalry, barking, "You can't be here. I'm the HOA president. This man's in violation of." One of the agents cuts her off. "Ma'am, this is a federal matter. You've triggered a secured property alert under Title 10 jurisdiction. We're going to need to see identification now." You ever see someone's ego deflate right in front of you? Karen went from 10 feet tall to about 3 inches, pale as the paper on her clipboard. They take her aside. I'm on the phone with an agent now, who, after confirming I'm the owner, calmly asks, "Would you like to press charges for trespassing?" There's a beat, and for a second I think about it. But no, let her stew. I just say, let her think about it for a bit. So they detain her. 3 hours. Questioned offsite. Her clipboard never stands a chance. Word spreads. Oh, you bet it does. The neighbors, who usually just wave from a distance, suddenly want to know what the hell happened. Karen comes back looking like she's seen a ghost, barely able to explain to the board how the words "Pentagon response" became part of her week. It's so surreal, nobody knows what to say. She resigns for personal health reasons by Friday. Gone just like that. The HOA meetings get real quiet for a while, and me? My gate's still 2 feet taller than their rules allow. Nobody says a word. If anything, folks go out of their way not to make eye contact. No more clipboards. No more compliance checks. And the best part? The Pentagon updated their protocol after that. I updated my signs. Private property. Trespassers will be federally monitored. Subtle, but gets the point across. But sometimes, late at night, I sit out there on the porch and wonder, who gets to decide what's right? The rules you make for a community? Or the rules you make for yourself, hard-earned and carved out by years of doing things nobody else wanted to do? That's the kind of question that doesn't go away just because the clipboards do. So, let me ask you, was I right to stand my ground? Or should we all just play along with the Karens of the world for the sake of peace? Where's the line between justice and just plain stubbornness? I'd love to hear your take. Drop your thoughts below. Let's see whose side you're really on. But you know what's funny? You'd think after Karen's grand exit, things would go back to quiet. No more drama, right? That was the plan. Me, my porch, some peace and quiet. For a while, it actually worked. Neighbors kept their distance. A few even dropped by with awkward apologies or homemade pie, like they were trying to bribe the universe to leave them out of the next headline. There was this one guy, Jerry, retired dentist, always in his golf cart. He stops me one morning and just says, "Heard you had some excitement. Hell of a way to meet the feds." We both laugh, but there's this edge in his voice, like he's not sure if he should be scared of me or ask me to fix his security system. Weeks roll by, the grass grows, life finds its rhythm again. Except, there's always an except, isn't there? About a month later, I notice a car parked down at the end of the private road, just far enough to look like it belongs, but close enough to see my front gate. Sometimes it's a silver sedan, sometimes a blue pickup, always a new face behind the wheel, always sunglasses, always pretending to read something. I know a stakeout when I see one. Even if it's done badly day first, I'm annoyed. Is the HOA testing me? Did Karen leave a little legacy, some kind of watch that guy note in their files? But then I think, maybe it's not them at all. After the Pentagon thing, who knows who's curious about the weird house on the edge of nowhere? I'm not paranoid, just, let's call it professionally skeptical. You spend enough years reading between the lines, you stop believing in coincidences. So, I do what I've always done. Adapt. I add a couple more cameras, reroute my mailbox to a P.O. box, swap my Wi-Fi password twice a week. Overkill? Maybe. But it keeps my mind busy. And hell, it's almost fun. Like a game of chess with an invisible opponent. Then comes the real curveball. One afternoon, I find a note taped to my door. No envelope, just a scrap of yellow legal paper. Some folks around here still want you gone. Don't trust the friendly faces. That's it. No signature, no threats, just that cryptic warning in shaky handwriting. I hold it in my hand, standing there on my own porch, and I get that old itch in the back of my mind. Danger, or just neighborly nonsense? Can't tell. But now the story's changed. I start paying attention. Not just to cars at the end of the street, but to conversations at the corner store, to who waves and who avoids my eyes. You ever feel the whole world tilt, just a few degrees, and suddenly you're not sure what's solid? That's where I was. Living in a place I thought was peaceful, realizing small towns have their own shadows. It's not just about the HOA. It's about belonging, about lines in the sand, about who's in and who's always other. One evening, I see Jerry's golf cart parked by my mailbox. He's waiting for me. "You got people nervous," he says, not quite accusing, not quite friendly. Folks don't like not knowing what you're about. I shrug, trying to play it off, but I can feel the tension hanging between us. "I just want to be left alone," I tell him, and I mean it. But even I know, once you're the story, you don't get to decide how people tell it. Things escalate. I catch someone snooping around the edge of my yard late at night, flashlight bobbing in the dark. My motion lights come on. They scatter, but I get the message loud and clear. I call the sheriff this time. Local, not federal. He shows up, listens, then sighs. "This place, man. They love their drama. You're probably safer than any of us. But folks get nervous when they feel outmatched. It hits me. Maybe the threat isn't Karen or the feds or even some anonymous letter writer. Maybe it's the fear of change, the fear of the unknown. Maybe it's just people clinging to their little kingdoms, afraid someone else's freedom means losing their own control. So what do? I double down. Plant more trees, put up another layer of fencing, wave at every neighbor I see, never giving them the satisfaction of seeing me rattled. I start living out loud, so to speak. Barbecue on Sundays, music on the porch, a dog from the shelter barking at every squirrel. If you're going to be the villain in someone's story, you might as well be the one they can't stop talking about. And that brings me here, still standing, still stubborn, still not in the HOA. My gate is just as tall, my camera is just as sharp, my coffee just as strong. The story didn't end when Karen left. If anything, that was just the first act. Small towns remember. They watch, they judge, they adapt in their own ways. But so do I. So, where does it go from here? Maybe nowhere. Maybe next week it's a bake sale, or a block party, or another car parked at the end of the road, watching and waiting. But I'll be here, minding my business, defending my little patch of peace, waiting to see who blinks first. You tell me, does standing your ground make you the problem, or just the last honest person in a world obsessed with keeping the peace? Let me know what you think, right and wrong, us and them, fences and freedom. The comment section's open.